Destroy the child. Corrupt them all.
Make fun of me all you want. This is their plan, people. They're frickin' interdimensional invaders. And more blood of this. More blood.
Destroy the child. Corrupt them all.
Make fun of me all you want. This is their plan, people. They're frickin' interdimensional invaders. And more blood of this. More blood.
Destroy the child. Corrupt them all.
Make fun of me all you want. This is their plan, people. They're frickin' interdimensional invaders. And more blood of this. More blood.
Destroy the child. Corrupt them all.
Make fun of me all you want. This is their plan, people. They're frickin' interdimensional invaders. And more blood of this. More blood.
Destroy the child. Corrupt them all.
And if you remember last week, Ryan was focusing on his Epstein map, but we ran out of time. So we're going to pick up where we left off. I think I can hear you, Ryan. Just got to get your video going.
Yes, I see it.
There he is. There he is.
Let's see. Oh, I know what's going on. Hold on. 3 seconds.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, I should take a deep breath, man. Kai is the man.
He is, isn't he? Yeah, he's just got such a good energy about him as well.
Oh, I don't know how you do that, man. All these survivors.
After everything you've been through and what you're going through now, psychologically, to come across with that big smile, it takes some strength.
Is it? Let's see.
Yeah.
I had a program that was using my video, and then I turned that off. Oh, there it is. Okay.
There you are. Good to see you.
I'm more nervous about tech than I am doing interviews. Like, oh, I'm not worried about content. I'm worried about, is everything going to work?
Who's the cockroach?
Oh, well, this is Maria Farmer's latest. You know what it is. This is Dershowitz, obviously. I'm gonna put this up to the camera for a second. I thought I changed the mood. I mean, it's very serious with the Nygaard, and we've done 2 interviews on that too. But I was gonna open with a joke, but this is how you deal with these people. So Maria Farmer has just nailed it. And look, can you read that sign? Is that people, I don't know if that's people. Here, I'll just it says penile ligament true to scale. And you gotta really zoom in to see that.
Ligament true to scale. Oh
yeah.
PD. I only sleep with my wife.
Oh, she's been just cranking out dank art. It's awesome. Bless her. If she's watching, I've got a map I'd love for her to paint or, throw some heads on. I think it'd be great. But yeah, I was going to do something more lighthearted. So I think that's great. Derstwich has a cockroach. And then you can see where it's got Sarah and Virginia on the legs. But yeah, it's dark humor is how you deal with this. I sent that to Norman Finkelstein too, because he and Dershowitz hate each other. So yeah.
And if people are on Twitter at Maria Farmer, we usually have the link in the description box. I'll get it in there. But she has been tweeting her art recently. She had some downtime, but now she's back getting active again. So
he's fighting cancer. So
yeah, power to her as well. She's done so well, and her and Virginia and going through the cancer, man. I can't imagine
going through everything that they've been through. I hope they watch these and see what we've got. So I don't remember what we left off on last time, but
we left off on Epstein enablers on the Epstein map.
Oh, I'm glad, cheap plug. The Epstein map. Yes, that map would be hours and hours to go through. I think I'd gone through sort of the John Kasich and John McCain connections with Weaver and the Lincoln Project. We went through OSU, Abigail Wexler, and a bunch of foundations where they're doing money laundering. And we were touching on the Keaton 5 SNL scandal. All right, it's coming back to me. I got it now. But I just want to pull something up from the calendar. We have a nice calendar, Japanese models here. And because the other day, it was just the 22nd, which is 322, special number for these weirdos. But that happened to be the same day that Moshe Katsav was arrested or sentenced for 2 counts of rape. And that was the 8th president of Israel. And he was slapped with both rape and sexual harassment. He was entered into a plea bargain, and then for some reason, because he thought he could beat it, he withdrew. And he was found guilty, and he did go to jail. He served 5 years out of 7. Apparently, if you're a president, you only get 5 years for 2 counts of rape. But he did go to prison, and he served under 3 different prime ministers: Ehud Barak, Ehud Olmert, and Ariel Sharon. And I know you recognize 2 of those names for being in, well, I say the Maxwell book, but we could say Epstein's little black book. But I'm kind of suspicious that was actually hers rather than his. But either way, doesn't matter. He shouldn't be in there.
Yeah, who was it that told us that he brought the money and she brought the connections?
It's her
handwriting. Most of the connections were hers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Andrew's in there so many times. He is the Kevin Bacon of pedophiles, and that's actually a quote on this calendar. Is I think it's July. It says Prince Andrew is the Kevin Bacon of pedophiles. But he knew Nygaard too, who you're just talking about. He visited in the Bahamas.
If you want to get one of Ryan's maps, he will take a donation for a map, I believe, because he said he didn't want just people to give him money. He wants to give them something back.
I don't mind people giving me money, but yeah, if you want to get it, if it's above a certain amount, we'll send you a map, and doesn't matter where you are in the world. And we have a promo code Patrick, since it's also the month for St. Patrick, and that'll get you a little bit off. So maps, calendars, whatever you want to buy, I'd rather you get something. This whole calendar is like a this day in history type of thing, except we tell the truth. So it's got everything from like, these pedophile rings to the Civil Wars on this calendar. A lot of things, the neocons, 9/11, all that's on there. And people are always asking for that. I'm actually a historian more than a researcher. I do a lot of work on the American Civil War, Revolutionary War things. So it's all on there, maps on there. And we need it because I've been censored on everything. I lost my YouTube for 15 years. And I 5-time champion getting banned there. Can't get it back. I was just kicked off of Facebook 2 days ago. Again. The raceaholics went after me because Unfortunately, there was a shooting in the U.S. This guy went and shot a bunch of massage workers, and of course, the raceaholics made it all about race because the shooter was white and most of the victims were Asian. So I just didn't see. I was like, isn't the murder the issue here more than, you know, the ethnic group of the perpetrator or whatever? So I pointed out when an Asian guy in Virginia Tech shot about 25 white people, nobody in the media made it about race. It was about a lunatic, which is what it was about. And I hate it because they're creating a panic. They're trying to make people afraid, like there's systemic racism everywhere and you can't go outside. And it's just nonsense. You're safe. There is not a, you know, a pandemic against the Asian race by the white race. I mean, that's ridiculous. It was an isolated incident by one maniac that went and shot people because he was a sex addict. So he attacked sex workers. That's all it was. But you know, truth is against the community standards on Facebook. So got banned for that,
and we'll put Ryan's links in the description box below the video if you do want the map, or if you want to go down and support him on whatever socials he has left,
yeah.
which aren't very many.
Lots of little maps. This is
ANC
this
report.
is the new one on McCain, right? This is nice, clean one there, and this one is on the Biden crime syndicate. And these are all free. These little maps, they're just on the website, because I think visuals. A lot of people are visual learners, and these will really help you get your head around it. Some people ask me, how do you know all those dates and names and things? And well, I know the Epstein names and dates because I've been researching it now 14 years, but it does help to have something to look at. Even I've discovered stuff on my own map, a little aha moment going, oh, it was right in front of me. There it is. So it's a nice one to have. And that helps me, my family, and my employees. I really had the rug pulled out from under me with losing YouTube. It's because I'd already been banned on Twitter and everything else, Instagram. I'm not allowed on anything, and because I have a dedicated group of haters that just go after me. I'm like, okay, I'm opposed to war, and I'm opposed to racism, and I'm opposed to pedophilia. So obviously, I'm a terrible person. But that's what they do. They do not. We're messing with billionaires here, and I'll name them. I don't say vague stuff like the globalist or the elite or whatever. I tell you their name, their company, what they did, and you get flack when you're over the target. So I really appreciate you allowing me on your show and risking it all, because you know what I'm going to do. You know I'm going to name everybody. So.
So you're saying you're not proud of the Western countries, the richest countries in the world, bombing the shit out of the poorest countries in the world and calling all the murder collateral damage?
Well, it relates to these pedophile rings too, because when you for example, some of the things that Epstein and Maxwell were doing, that's I don't know, it's not brushed under the rug, but because of the huge white collar crimes and all the pedophilia, they often forget about how they were bribing different African despots and dictators. That's what Patrick Ho got jailed for at MCC with Epstein. They were together because a couple of them turned him down. But they, you know, what happens is when you export bombs, as they did in Libya, as they're doing in Syria, and also all these intentionally structured design to wipe out economies, predatory loans, transfer pricing, and so on. You're creating conditions of workers starve in places like Sudan and Yemen. And what happens is men turn to mercenary work and women turn to prostitution, because it's, you got to do what you got to do to survive. And so these wars, on top of obviously all the mass murder and the theft of property and maiming, is also creating conditions for human trafficking. And that's the breeding ground for these pedophile rings. Oh, there's a tsunami or in Haiti, then we're going to go grab a bunch of kids. Oh, there's an ongoing war in the Congo or in Sudan, then we're going to go grab a bunch of kids.
And I'm going to get caught grabbing kids coming out of Haiti, and I'm work for the Clintons.
Oh, well, yes, there's a nice book about that. You may have heard of it. Speaking of Clintons, there's not a name you can't say that we can't segue to, but you know, I opened this up talking about Moshe Katsav. Now, I think it was good on Israel, and you won't hear me say this much, that they actually convicted him and threw him in prison. You know, he did rape a woman twice in 1998. It did take almost 8 years, and then he was sexually harassing his own employees, much like Michael Steinhardt and others on the map. But he was convicted.
Do you know the circumstances of that assault?
The assault or the rape?
I'm just euphemizing. I'm euphemizing with assault to try and.
Oh, I get it.
Yes, you a bit happier.
Well, there was actually an assault too.
Oh, like, there was. Okay.
There was actually like this kind of assault. Yeah. So yeah, it was a woman that he abused. I forgot, we're on YouTube. He abused in a hotel in Jerusalem for an event. He used to be the transportation secretary before he was the president, and he had also abused her in her own office. So at 2 different occasions he did that, and other women brought it up, but the conviction was on the one that he did it to twice. And then on top of that, there were some other lesser sexual harassments and abuse. I'm trying to sanitize my language, it's hard. But yeah, they nailed him, and he went to prison. There was a funny moment because there's a Jewish holiday where they actually allowed Ehud Olmert and Moshe Katsav and Rabbi Yoshiyahu Pinto, who we talked about before, all got out of the same jail on the same day for 3 days of like supervised, holiday. And it's like you got a former prime minister and a president and a very prominent rabbi all in jail. Olmert went to jail for fraud, though, not for pedophilia. And the rabbi also went to jail for obstruction of justice, fraud, bribery, the classics. And Netanyahu's in trouble for that, too. And but these 3 prime ministers all had Moshe Katsav as their president. He was president from 2000 to 2007. And so he just barely missed Netanyahu by months if he could have stayed in there longer. But they're all in Maxwell's books. And Ehud Barak, who is just a butcher, by the way, like aside from the Epstein and Mark Rich and all the things that he's involved in there, just what he did to Palestine and Lebanon is disgusting on its own. But to add a little cherry onto that, he was in the Black Book, and he was pictured outside of the main, we'll call it, abuse mansion that Epstein lived in New York with his stupid fuzzy hat and all that. And he also admitted that he had gone to Pato Island, but he said, "Oh, I went there once and I had my wife and kids with me." Like that matters. What are you doing there, dude? You're the prime minister of his state, and you're just, I'm just gonna go to this random private island to Jeffrey Epstein for what? Right? He did business with him after Epstein had been jailed the first time. So you knew he was raping kids, and he went into a business venture with him anyway with Reporty / Carbine. He had an Israeli company called SUM, SUM, EB, and that's where they funneled money through that into Reporty to buy it, which is a media outfit. So but on top of all that, he was witnessed by neighbors going to, because Epstein had more than just his regular rape mansion across from Bill Cosby. He had other properties where a lot of these things went on. They're all, and a lot of them he got from his brother. Mark Epstein was the realtor for some of these things. That doesn't mean he knew what was happening in them, but I'm just saying that's where a lot of the groomers were housed and stuff. But there was a certain, maybe you heard of it, Floor 14 hotel where Barack had been witnessed dozens of times on that Epstein property, and there's only one thing that ever went on there. And the guy's such a fool because he's got all his security detail with him everywhere he goes, so it's not hard to know when he's in town and what he's doing. But these aren't the brightest people. I mean, that's been proven. These are the kind of people that wrap their phones in tinfoil. Yeah. But this is what you're dealing with. Ehud Barak was also, I know I pronounced that with a T, but their T and K is kind of similar, but we'd say Barak, I guess. Kind of like, it sounds like Barack, like Barack Obama, but Ehud Barak. He personally wrote a letter to Bill Clinton to get Mark Rich a pardon, which Clinton did end up doing his last day in office. And Mark Rich, who we talked about back in 2019 or whatever, but he was well, legally he was a commodities trader. He owned Glencore, which pilfered money from countries like Zambia and copper mining. And he was on Interpol's most wanted list for like a decade. He was a fugitive until Clinton gave him the pardon for tax evasion and for illegally trading with Iran during the embargo, selling weapons to South Africa, all kinds of things. Like, the guy is a real Boris Berezovsky mafioso type of dude. Boris, by the way, his death anniversary was yesterday. So that's another one to celebrate. But Clinton gives him the pardon. And then Mark Rich's wife finances Hillary's campaign when she was becoming a senator, which was successful. Funny that she did it in New York, of all places, right? Like, that's not where she's from. And they had lived in Arkansas in the intermediary, but she runs in New York because that's where most of their criminal friends were. But Ehud Barak is writing that, and Clinton did it, and he wasn't the only one to pressure him to do this. But I should point out one more thing about Rich. His lawyer was Louis Libby, who's a lawyer for the Mossad, who is also Dick Cheney's chief of staff. And his real name is Louis Leibowitz, and he's involved with the Plame affair. George Bush the Lesser commuted his sentence, and then Donald Trump gave him the full pardon. And Mark Rich had admitted before he died that he personally financed Mossad operations. And if the Mossad is getting operations financed by a private billionaire, you know what that means. Like, it was so bad, whatever they're doing, that even the Knesset wouldn't sign off on it. Like, even the Israeli government was like, we can't officially know about this. They didn't care, but they're like, we're not touching that. So they did it through Mark Rich. I mean, this guy is a criminal. And Clinton just gave him a pardon. And he gave his business partner a pardon too, Pincus Green, who is, Mark Rich Jr. basically. And he's still alive and still at large. And they worked with Russian oligarchs and all this, worldwide criminal enterprises. And on the map, I put a couple organizations on there that I'm not even going to say on YouTube, but you can just type that in and bring a barf bag with you, because it's human trafficking, it's organ trafficking, it's all the worst things you can imagine. And Pincus is not even charged with anything anymore. And that's the power of a presidential pardon. It's like, it doesn't matter what you did for how many decades, how many people you hurt and abused, you're pardoned now. And they just bought one. And this is one of the things I believe, because everybody knows that Bill Clinton was on the Epstein Islands. Well, what is it exactly that he was blackmailed to do? Like, oh, they're blackmailing Clinton. Well, you can't just generally say, well, it's for favorable policies for Israel, whatever, because every president does that anyway. What specifically, like, really crossed the line? Well, pardoning Rich was one. The other two things were choosing James Woolsey and George Tenet to be the head directors of the CIA. Because the Woolsey one never made any sense. Clinton hated him, didn't talk to him the whole 2 years he was there. Wouldn't have meetings with him. He just did it because he had to do it. And that's the guy that started the lie about anthrax in Iraq and associating Iraq to 9/11. And I won't, I'll just, I can go on 9/11, but we'll just leave that on the side. But that's the guy. And that's what was very important to them, and what they were pushing Clinton into doing. So I think it's very important to know not only who's being blackmailed, but, okay, what is it they needed him to do? And clearly something was twisting his arm to get him to hire Woolsey. And then we know Lewinsky was in there as well, another honey trap. So Clinton was blackmailed 6 ways to Sunday. And they knew that. They knew that before he was governor. They knew what an easy target he was. They knew what his weak point was. And so they got him. And, and they got his wife. She got money from Nexium. And you'd think, she ran for president twice. That never came up. Her work, the bestiality in Haiti and all the Clinton murders. And you know, the Nexium cult giving her money. Why was this hidden? Right? The media could trash her. They could have trashed Trump on as much as the media hated Trump. All right. But they didn't bring up his past with Bob Labooty and the mob or any of that stuff. It was all ridiculous identity politics and things, right? They don't inform you because there's no way to tell on him for that without telling on themselves at the same time. And there's no way to go after Clinton without also exposing themselves at the same time. So both parties cannot say anything about the other because it's like, well, you're coming with me, right? That's how tight the system is and how sick and deep it goes. It goes all the way to the top. So it's not just the Israeli prime ministers and presidents. It's American presidents and congressmen and speakers of the House currently. That's how far it goes down that rabbit hole.
So I'm just going to pause Ryan here. Ryan goes deep. He is so thorough. I've been going over some of the previous interviews I've done with Ryan for my book on Epstein, and it's just reading it without actually interviewing, just reading it and just absorbing what he's saying. My mind's just been blown all over again. So what we're going to do is now the first hour on YouTube is over. I'm going to tell Ryan the next question I'm going to ask for him, so he's got time to think about it, because we're going to pick up on Patreon in about 5 minutes or so. So my next question for Ryan is going to be regarding the Clinton and commodities then. Hillary Clinton made a $2,000 investment. Within a very short period of time, it was worth 6 figures. So I'm going to ask for Ryan's perspective on that when we go over to Patreon. And if you are going to support us and go over to Patreon, the link is in the description box below the video. I'm going to ask the moderators to put the link in the live chat right now. If you go for Patreon 2 or 3, you will get full access every week for hour 2, hour 3 of Attwood Unleashed, as well as other perks, which you could check out when you click that link. So these videos, the Attwood Unleashed, to have 6 to 8 guests per evening. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of people involved putting this together. So huge thank you. The Patreons are almost at 500 right now. It's grown at a record amount. Huge thank you for you guys enabling us to keep this quality content coming out every week. And of course, what we can put back on YouTube, we will. So those links are down there. We're going to sign out now. Thanks again, Ryan, for coming on. We urge people to support you as well and your links and get the map. My map was given to the framer just before the pandemic. It's still there. Hopefully I'll get that back soon, because the lockdown is finally easing here in the UK for wave 2 at least.
I hope so. That's something I'd talk about too, but you can't talk about the virus on here.
No,
you're just not allowed to. Yeah.
Let's not.
Unfortunately, I don't have that next segment. It was on his Patreon. I never got it. If someone has it, looks like I was wearing the black hoodie, the anti-Israel hoodie, and I don't know. I don't have that. I do have the next interview I did with Attwood, and I'll put that out tomorrow. But yeah, there are a couple missing segments because we'd start on YouTube and then go to Patreon, and I did not get all of the Patreon segments. Well, there's a good 11 hours or so left. We're having a brand new interview March 15th. Oh, well, UK and Japan times the 15th. I guess it'll be the 14th in parts of the Americas. But we're going to be talking about it on Rumble, where I don't have to pull my punches so much, and going over the client list. The client list, that map is a client list, okay? And we'll go over the client list, which we've been doing, spread out over a bunch of videos. But now, I haven't done a new Epstein update in a while, because I got mad at all the plagiarists that were taking my work and sticking it all over Twitter, where I was banned and not allowed to post anything myself or get credit for any of the things I did. I'm back on Twitter, and so I'll be back on Attwood March 14th/15th, depending on your time zone. So we will see you there. Peace.